We continue to talk election here. So we're joined by Uri Pilichowski, educator and political commentator, and Dr. Eli Cook, senior lecturer of American history at Haifa University. Thank you both, gentlemen, for being with us here. Obviously a big day, a lot to talk about. Jump right into it. Uri, there's been a clear voice out of Israel for 4 more years of Trump. Okay, if he loses, is there any concern that as a foreign country, and certainly under Prime Minister Netanyahu, that Israel's taken too clear of a side in such a contentious race?
I think that Vice President Biden is the example of what a statesman is, and I'm not really worried about him looking at Israel in a resentful sort of way. He's had a 45-plus year relationship with the state of Israel, so I think we'll be fine either way. I'm not really so concerned about that. I think that President Trump has been the most supportive president for the state of Israel in the history of the United States. So I think that that's the reason why you see so much support for him among Israelis. But I'm not really concerned about Vice President Biden looking at Israel in sort of a resentful way because of its population support of President Trump.
And Dr. Cook, bring you into the conversation here. By most accounts here, Trump has taken decades of failed U.S. policy towards the Middle East and turned it upside down. Now, putting Iran back on its heels, following through on longstanding U.S. law to move the embassy in Jerusalem, and brokering peace now with 3 significant Muslim countries. Why would Israel not embrace him?
Well, first of all, I think that was a bit of an exaggeration, in my opinion. The UAE, these are countries that are already on the American side as far as the strategic moves that they're making against Iran. I don't see this as a really, for the United States, a significant move. I'm glad that these peace accords were signed, but I don't think we can compare them at all to the kind of moves that we saw, let's say, in the 90s when we were making, moves with the Palestinians. But I agree with you that most of the Israelis are enamored with Trump. I do think that one of the key issues that we're going to have to look forward, though, is that, as we know, most American Jews and most liberal Jews in general do not like Trump. And I do fear a situation where that relationship between Israeli Jews and American Jews, and more broadly the liberal public writ large, is more strained now, because they won't forget the fact that while they really disliked Donald Trump, in Israel, we saw that Donald Trump had one of the rare positive approval ratings in the world. There aren't that many countries that supported Donald Trump like Israel. Maybe even it's the most supportive country for Donald Trump.
On that aspect of sort of, not that Israel's required to be bipartisan, but the risks inherent in siding so heavily with one party. This has been a theme throughout Netanyahu's recent term as prime minister. Now, Uri, on that note here, and you expressed a more nuanced tone on Joe Biden than I believe many Israelis have expressed to this point. But you're right, he's a longtime friend of Israel. But is there a real concern, Uri, that the Democrats are looking with a bit of animosity towards how embraced this president has been by Israel?
I think that the Democratic Party has also been supportive of Israel. I don't think it's something to worry about. I think there are a lot of loud voices in the Democratic Party that are really anti-Israel, and those voices are concerned. But I think that Prime Minister Netanyahu also is a statesman, and I think that he's able to bridge that gap and be able to show the Democratic Party that just as he was a friend to Donald Trump and the Republican Party, he was a friend to the United States of America. The United States of America is greater than just 2 different parties. I think he'll be able to bridge that gap if it happens that Vice President Biden does win the election.
And on that note here, a bit of prediction, Dr. Cook, would like to get your thoughts looking at the U.S. and with your expertise. You have a doctorate from Harvard on subjects related to this. What's going to happen in the election?
I mean, it's interesting because I think the likeliest scenario is that Biden's going to win a fairly large victory. But on the other hand, I definitely think that Trump has a chance. Nate Silver has it at 10%. I think it's actually higher. I look at the polls in Pennsylvania. He's only up 5 there. And if you look at kind of Biden's plan B, if he loses Pennsylvania, it's really not that great. He has to win all of the southern states. Now, most of these are traditionally, I'm talking about Arizona, Georgia, Florida. He'd have to win one of those. These are traditionally Republican states. So while I think the most likeliest scenario is a Biden win, even maybe a large win, I definitely do not count out the scenario that Trump wins.
And Uri, back to you. I want to get your thoughts on the same subject here while we've got you. What's your prediction?
I'm not a prophet, so I can't say what's going to happen. But I will say that if you just take the enthusiasm factor, I think one difference that you really see is that President Trump supporters are voting for President Trump, and Vice President Biden supporters are really voting against President Trump. And I think that all the experts are saying that if there's a high turnout among President Trump supporters, President Trump wins. And these people have been coming out, I mean, just in droves with the rallies and the highway caravans that you see. The enthusiasm is just so high for President Trump. I think that he wins it. But like I said, I'm not a prophet.
And Dr. Cook, along those lines as well here now, in terms of looking at what may come out of this here, there's a lot of concern about unrest, about people not accepting the results. In fact, the president himself undermining the process here of counting the ballots. Is that as dangerous as it seems?
I mean, if it's close and it comes down to Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin, which is going to take days for them to count their mail-in votes because of the laws that they have in those states, and Donald Trump announces that he's victorious, even though we haven't counted all the votes, I think definitely we could see some tensions. And then, of course, the kind of the doomsday scenario that a lot of people are scared of is that in the end, there's an attempt to cancel some of those mail-in votes. It gets to the Supreme Court. We have a redux of Bush versus Gore, as we did in 2000, where clearly conservative Supreme Court sides with Donald Trump. And then, unlike in 2000, this time I don't think that Joe Biden will concede as graciously as Al Gore did. And then, absolutely, I could see a situation where all chaos breaks out. I really hope this is not a scenario, but it's definitely on the table.
Thank you both for your time here. Obviously, a lot at stake here today, and we'll have a lot more commentary on that as the day progresses. But thank you very much, Uri Pilichowski and Dr. Eli Cook.
Thank you.